Hey Cameron, could you just take a second to introduce yourself and tell us more about you?
Of course. It's nice to meet everyone. I am Cameron. I currently work as a research manager in the market research industry. So I run research projects in the healthcare space mostly. So consulting pharmaceutical companies on their marketing strategy and informing decisions by talking with their customers.
Marketing research seems like something that takes a little bit of creativity and problem solving. Could you tell us a little bit about what it looks like to work in a team to solve those kind of problems, or do you work in teams? What does that usually look like?
And since we are more project based, you work with one or two other people on each project. So really tight teams, which makes us very efficient. So I'm not always working with the same people. It'll be, a few months on one project, I'm working with one or two people on that. And then I get on another project, which is exciting to always be working with different people and switching it up and learning from different folks and stuff like that. So there's pros and cons to that approach for sure, that it's not like your classic, team of like 8 or 10 people too. That's also a different dynamic at play.
That's great. I was wondering, have there been any difficult situations you've experienced in these small teams?
I've experienced where maybe in my role, I'm supporting projects, right? And then I have someone who's superior to me who's kind of leading the projects, and then I am supporting them. And so I've experienced kind of on the one side of things where maybe the person I'm working under is a little bit less hands-on with me or less available for me to get insider advice from them, or maybe they're just less communicative. Whereas I know for myself, I really like having regular check-ins to kind of make sure that we're both on the same page and like on the same timelines, working towards the same things, just so we know what's going on. And so in cases like that, it sometimes can leave me feeling less confident in what I'm supposed to be doing or less supported by that team member if I feel like I can't get a hold of them to get their help or something like that. But then, of course, there also has been times when it's more on the other side of the spectrum where the person I'm working under maybe is a little too involved in my day to day, where it can feel like they are maybe micromanaging or not letting me be as empowered to kind of take control of my work, where I'm coming to them with, hey, here's what I've done, here's what I think we should do next. That kind of thing is kind of more so where I'm able to grow versus them, like being so involved in the day to day and kind of directing everything I'm doing can also be attention.
Kind of touching on that, I was kind of curious in your personal experience. Obviously, you definitely work on different cases with different teams, but what type of leader or what qualities do you like in a leader that's just ideal when working on a project?
So someone that's available to answer questions and you feel like you don't have to only come to them with like the big questions, like you feel like they're maybe very, very approachable to be able to talk with. I appreciate that in a leadership style. I'm trying to think of other aspects. I also appreciate when in these teams, the kind of leader that I'm working under, if you will, is also asking for feedback and like also wanting to learn from me. So it's not just myself adapting to like their preferred working style. They're also kind of wanting to know how I best want to receive feedback.
I know you mentioned stuff about conflicts already and like certain strategies like weekly check-ins to kind of mitigate those conflicts. Do you have any other strategies that you use to go about addressing certain conflicts that you have within teams?
Yeah, I feel like because we work with so many teams, something that I found works well is like if I'm in a situation where maybe I had a situation where kind of like to that exact example, the my team member was like less responsive, not as engaged, and I was like, this is not working for us because we need to like be more in lockstep with each other. And so I knew on a different project, my team member had us do like a kind of like just timeline of like, here's the task that I'm in charge of, here's the task that you're in charge of, here's like a status update of where each task is at and when it needs to be done and like that kind of thing with the next steps. And so since another person had brought that to me and it worked well, I don't necessarily always need to work that way with other people. I'm like, we've already got it handled. But in this case, I was like, we actually need something to kind of come in and help us get more organized and like get us on the same page. And so I was able to bring that and kind of suggest that with this person that like, hey, it seems like things might be falling through the cracks in our, communication with each other. Like, how about we use this way to organize things, which was helpful.
Thanks for that. That was really cool to hear about. This isn't really tied too much to teams, but I was wondering, in your day-to-day like work, if how do you usually respond when you feel like you maybe don't have like the authority or like autonomy you need at work, or like what happens when you feel like maybe like your input, you don't feel like it's being acknowledged or valued as much?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like luckily that hasn't happened too often. I feel like a benefit of smaller teams is that it is more collaborative versus feeling like I'm the low man on the team and like no one, is interested in what I have to say. But I definitely can understand that. I feel like that's also something that comes with time is like confidence in sharing opinions and things like that. I also have definitely utilized like outside mentors or people to kind of bounce thoughts off of and be like, hey, I'm experiencing this situation, or hey, I feel like I'm not being heard in XYZ way. Like other mentors at work can offer advice on things like that since they might have more experience or just like a different perspective about kind of how to go back to that setting and approach it.
All right, Cameron, thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope you have a good evening.